What if I told you that even when you think you're losing in life, you're actually winning? That everything that happens is a victory? Today I'm going to talk about 3 ways of how you can get back into the game at winning in life. Let's get started. A few months ago, I read this book by Gary John Bishop called Unfu. And the other day I was hanging out with my friend when I heard him say, "Oh man, I'm so stupid." And it reminded me of that book. How he talked about how we talk about ourselves. And there are 2 kinds of talk we engage every day. We talk to others and we talk to ourselves. The latest in neuroscience and psychology adds weight to the idea that the kind of talk you engage in has a profound impact on the quality of your life. Consider how many times you've told yourself something like, "I'm so stupid," "I'm so fat," "I am so dumb," "My life is over," "This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me." We've all said it at one point in our lives, but we never really see what we're leaving ourselves with after we say those words. You might think, "This is so hard. I don't know if I'll be able to finish it." Or worry about different ways of how you're gonna mess up something, which you don't see, but it leaves you with this stress and anxiety that you have to deal with, that it carries on to other parts of your life. Sometimes that negative self-talk leads to anger, sadness, more frustration, more anxiety. The more you tell yourself how hard something is, the harder it gets. If you tell yourself, "Oh man, this math problem is so hard, I don't know if I'll be able to finish it," and then it takes you twice as long to finish that math problem. If you're talking about how unfair life is, then you begin to act according to that view. You therefore put less effort into your work because you've already determined you're not going to get the promotion or the raise or whatever. The unfair view will quickly become your reality. As we go through life learning and experiencing new things, our brain is continuously arranging and rearranging our thoughts and patterns and behaviors and habits. The best part is that we can direct these thoughts in a way that consciously modifies these pathways for ourselves. And the easiest way to direct those thoughts is through direct, decisive talk. The kind of talk that cuts through and takes control of your life. Just like we build habits by repeating an action until it becomes automatic. A lot of this will come down to your basic tolerance of your current mindset and the willingness to change this. So it doesn't matter how much I tell you that this actually works. If you're not willing to change it, then none of this works. Hey, don't shoot the messenger. And it all starts by creating your own reality. You've heard this saying, "It all starts within you." Well, it actually does start within you. Sometimes we want to blame outside events, outside people, whatever it is, but it really does start within you. Alright, so you're probably thinking, alright Manny, and how the heck do you create your own reality? By shifting your self-talk of a streaming narrative where you talk about others, yourself, life, as a dialogue of opinion and judgment, to being assertive, where you cast all the default noise aside and assert your power here and now. One of the first mistakes is when we talk about what we are going to do. Subconsciously, we are already determining when that will be, and that's certainly not in this moment in time. That's usually one of the reasons why we abandon New Year's resolution, because it describes what we are going to do in the future, next week, next month, tomorrow. And all too often we begin with what we are not going to do. Not eat the candy, not eat the pastry, not eat the pizza. I want pizza. Those are the moments when your internal thoughts go crazy of the things that you are gonna stop doing, and you are depriving yourself of life. You know, what if you promise yourself to lose weight and we are craving pizza? Or you promise yourself to save money, but that one jacket just went on sale. So how does one deal in those moments? What happens? What are you going to do instead? Well, assertive language is when you stake a claim right here, right now. When you start to talk in terms of I am, I embrace, or I assert, all of which are the powerful and commanding uses of language. There is a massive difference between I am relentless and I will be relentless. So, this leads us to our first personal assertion of I am willing. Because if you're not willing to change your life, all of these 3 steps are not going to matter. So first, are you willing? Am I willing to go to the gym? Am I willing to ask for a raise or quit this shitty job? That's why it's so powerful. Because that question demands an answer. It can't just be left there in the nothingness of the universe. For some people, unwilling is also the answer. Are you willing to live in a body that's unhealthy? Are you willing to live paycheck to paycheck? Are you willing to put up with unworkable, unsustainable relationships? Whichever works for you, either you are willing or unwilling. Once you frame the obstacles in your life as willing or unwilling, you can break through the self-imposed barriers that are truly holding you back. Alright, let's imagine this scenario. You meet someone, you go on a few dates, then you realize you really like each other's company. Things are coming along just fine as days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, then eventually you exchange your first I love yous. Not only are you in love, but then you start to wonder, could they be the one? Could this be it? Then you begin to get really excited. Woohoo! At some point, however, the dark clouds of doubt start to creep in. And it starts in small little arguments, little riffs, little tiffs, little digs, you know. No sooner are you in love than you start to fall out. Way out. The smallest things turn into arguments. And then you are left with the soul-destroying basics of just trying to get along. At some point, you both know that it's just not working out. Either way, you both go your separate ways. Now, even though it may feel and look like a loss, this was in fact a glorious and resounding win. The truth of it is that you are actually winning at the life you have. And you're thinking, what if I don't want this life? Fine, but this is the life you have now. You won at that failed relationship because you achieved exactly what you set out to do. What if you're actually driven to prove the notion that nobody will ever love you? What if it was planted there as a subconscious reaction to a turbulent childhood, bad breakups, or the like? And what if with this pattern buried deep in your subconscious, you actively and deliberately undermine the success of your relationships? You are convinced that you are not worthy of a loving relationship. So you systematically set out to prove it and succeed it. This doesn't just apply to your relationships. It also applies to your career, your fitness, your finances, and everything else in your life too. That brings us to our second personal assertion of I am wired to win. You are always winning because your brain is wired to win. The trouble comes when what you really want on a subconscious level and what you say you want are different. The famous stem cell and DNA scientist Dr. Bruce Lipton found that 95% of what we do on our day-to-day life is controlled by your subconscious. Now think about it. This makes perfect sense. Because let's say one day you're driving home on the freeway, and this has happened to me too. You're driving, then your mind just wanders off. Before you know it, you're exiting the freeway and you're like, oh shoot, how did I just, I just spaced out. How am I like exiting the freeway when I was like, what? That's your subconscious. It takes control, it's automatic, and we don't even realize it. concealed beliefs about why you cannot lose weight, why you cannot earn that money that you want. Those are all buried in your subconscious, that belief that it blocks you. Let's say you earn $30,000 a year. That's a domain that your brain is set to. Everything from the planning, the action, the belief, the work that you do is set on that domain. Sometimes it's a question of really getting yourself into another domain, from the 30,000 to the 60,000 or 100,000 or a million. You're like, okay, fine, I get it. How do you do that? It's only when you break through those conclusions or those limits that you have set yourself when you can really go on to the next level or that next domain. What requires to move out of that current domain will require some significant change of your current automatic or your subconscious mind. Pick an area of your life where you're struggling with and see how you're actually winning in that area. And then from there, you can actually break it apart and fix that area. Our third personal assertion is, I got this. Listen, everyone has their problems, and life isn't always perfect, and it never will be. But chances are, your life isn't as hard as a child in Somalia or an untouchable in India. That's why it's important to get connected to your reality, your real life, instead of your emotionally soaked self-talk narrative about your life. What this will do is put things in perspective. But I get it. Sometimes when we're going through things, it really does feel like we are never going to get out of it. I understand. I completely understand. But we have to be able to pull ourselves out if we're going to be able to get out of that, because it's a vicious cycle. You start spinning, and once you go, it just creates more problems. And you have gone through those, so it's time to make those changes so that we don't spin and go into a crazy, vicious, endless, crazy cycle. First, we have to start by picturing your life. Imagine it as a railroad track. To the front is the future, to the back is the past. And of course, it never is just a straight line. Of course, there are hills, there are valleys, there are rivers, and it's never a smooth, past or future. When you think about it, if you think about your past, you have gone through some pretty traumatic things in your life. I'm sure we all have, you've gone through probably deaths in your family. You have gone through emotional breakups, getting fired from your job, any number of things, of course. Those are part of your past. But then you have gone through some great things as well. You have gone through, award ceremonies, promotions, going on dates with people, having successful relationships or whatnot. So you have gone through that. Now, if you think about your future ahead of you, are going to go through more promotions. You are going to go through more breakups. You are going to go through, hard times. But if you have gone through all of that and are still here now, standing, smiling, looking amazing like you are, then you can handle that. So if we put things into perspective and pull ourselves like, what, I am going to get through this. I am going to succeed. I will get that next promotion, or I'm going to get that next job, or that next relationship is going to succeed. Once we do that, then you can actually say right now, right here, I got this. And you do. You got it. I believe in you. I know you can. And it reminded me of that book because...
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
The best part is that we direct these thoughts. The best part is we direct these thoughts in a way that we consciously modify. The best part is that we direct these thoughts in a way that... The best part is that we can direct these pathways. No. The best part is that we can direct these thoughts. We're going to skip that one. Are you even recording? Yes, I am.